And now we move on to the next pair, reason and emotion. Reason and emotion. And they have a similar, though not identical, relationship. This is all what we learned last week. Reason is simply the character that uses logic at the expense of emotion. It doesn't do it so much at the expense of emotion. Let me retract that a little bit. Reason is only concerned with what makes sense and does not even care whether it feels right or not. Now, similarly, you have the emotion character who only cares whether something feels right or not and is not even concerned one way or the other whether it makes sense or not. Now, here's an important point. In our own minds, protagonist represents the self-starting force to get things going, to change things, to change the status quo. Antagonist represents that force in our own minds, that motivation to keep the status quo or to change things back to the way they were. In other words, this is kind of like the force for making something new and the force for maintaining things with inertia. All right, reason and emotion in our own minds are not always in conflict. These are. Protagonist is always in conflict with antagonist. The force to make something new or start something up is always in exact opposition, diametrically opposed to the force to close things down and maintain the status quo. But sometimes our reason and our emotion agree in our real lives. And these two archetypes, which carry the same weight as these but are slightly a different part of the mind, these are the two sides of the coin. Does it make sense? Does it feel good? Sometimes both can say yes, and then we feel quite fine about going about something. Sometimes one will say yes and one will say no. It doesn't make sense, but it sure feels right. Or it makes absolute sense, but it feels all wrong. I don't want to do it, or I don't think that's would serve me, my feelings in the long run. I just don't like it. When they disagree, whichever one says yes and whichever one says no, then we have a conflict of a different kind. These are different ways of evaluating linearly, logistically, or emotionally, holistically, whether something is the way we want to go or not, whether it's good or bad, proper or improper. Generally, emotion will look at something and say it's good or bad, and reason will say it's correct or incorrect. These two characters also have a bonded pair, but it's not diametrically opposed. And later in the program, when we get down to the different kinds of relationships that you can have among characters, we'll see that there are 4 different kinds of relationships, and these are 2 of them. We'll describe them a little more fully when we can get down to that point in the story.